Hello, lovely people. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. It is finally September, so apart from it being my birth month, that means that fall is finally here. It's in the air, trickling in. Can you feel it? Can you taste it? Can you smell it? I know I can. So today we're going to be talking about a few of my favorite subjects. We're going to be chatting about routines and how we can reflect on them and modify them to kind of align more with that cozy fall energy that's slowly easing its way in as we kiss summer goodbye. First, we're going to talk about how we can really embrace the seasonal change and really use fall as a reflection point to really dial in on what's important to us, especially with the end of the year approaching quickly. Then we're going to touch a little bit on leaning into fall energy and understanding how our bandwidth might change over the next few months and how that ties into practicing slow productivity. Slow productivity is also the name of Cal Newport's newest book. I finished that book up a few months ago, and so we'll dive into a few of the key takeaways that I think are relevant to this topic. And then lastly, we'll talk about some things that I plan on doing to refresh my fall routines and recommendations for you if you want to do that as well, so we can all get shit done while still prioritizing coziness and rest in our day-to-day. If this is your first time here, my name is Amira, and on this channel we talk about mindful productivity, wellness, and small actionable steps that we can take to create more balance and find meaning on our current journeys. All right, so let's just dive right in, shall we? I have my little blanket. I have my notes in front of me. I have a beverage, so we're ready to get going. So seasonal changes really present and signify a chance to reflect and pivot. Although I love summer, especially a nice warm summer night and all the adventure and spontaneity and just overall high energy that summer gives, I think fall is really unique in that it's both a time of harvest, right? In that it's that reaping and soaking up of what's left before winter comes. And it's also a time where we can really turn inward and reflect on our journey so far, the opportunities we've had, and the path ahead. As a little aside, it feels like everyone always says this, but 2024 is really flying by. And I feel that more and more as I grow older, now that I am a true adult and I have responsibilities. Like, I feel like I'm not able to savor as much time. It feels that time isn't like moving as slowly as it did when I was a kid, and that's likely due to all the responsibilities that I now have. And the older I get, the more I'm like, damn, my parents were right. I'm rushing to go nowhere. I'm rushing to grow up, and now that I'm here, I'm like, well, damn, I don't know how I feel about it. Cut the show. Cut the show. So all that to say, with time really flying by, it really puts it into perspective, right? Savoring these last few months before a new year comes really gives us the opportunity to reflect and hone in on one or two really important goals that we want to achieve before the year's end. So here are some things that we can do and consider when we do our little reflection of how it's going for us so far. First thing, right, you already know from some of my other videos, but I'm really big on environment, right? My environment really affects my mood and my energy. So I personally believe that creating a cozy environment is conducive to introspection and goal setting. And I feel like there is no better time than the fall season to do this. We can truly take advantage of the cozy elements of fall and really set the stage for our fall planning and reflection. We can get cozied up by throwing on a warm pair of socks, maybe some slippers, a nice robe, maybe a nice warm sweatshirt or some fuzzy pajama pants. We can designate a little comfy, cozy corner in our home, right? It could be as simple as just pulling out your little favorite blanket over to a little corner of your home. Maybe you have a little nook set aside where you go curl up with your book, or maybe to just take a nap anywhere in your home that's maybe siloed off a little bit, or it can just be as simple as a nice corner of your couch. We can incorporate some warm lighting, like some candles or some warm string lights, maybe some lantern lights. We can use fall scents like cinnamon, pumpkin spice, apple, some woodsy scents to really evoke the season. And of course, I love a good playlist. So creating a playlist of calm music that just helps put you in that mood. For me, I've been playing Animal Crossing lately, so maybe it's a little bit of Animal Crossing music or the Twilight scores. If you know, you know. Fall is that obligatory time where we rewatch the Twilight series. So the score, right? The soundtrack, Chef's Kiss. So those are definitely going to be added to my fall playlist. Next, we can focus on setting intentions and really focusing in on our goals for the final months of the year. Some tips I have for this are listing your achievements, right? Whether big or small, it's important to celebrate those wins and how far we've come throughout the year. And then I recommend identifying any areas that you've grown in, right? Whether you've learned something new, an area of your life that you've put that work in, as well as reflecting on any challenges you've had over the year and how they've grown and shaped you into the person that you currently are going into this new season. And then once you've kind of reflected on, celebrated all of those wins, we can consider what goals or projects are still pending and why. Maybe we procrastinated a little bit. Maybe it just doesn't align with the person that we currently are in this moment. You can at this point assess if your priorities have shifted at this point in the year. And then from there, we can choose 1 to 2 major goals that we want to tackle before the year's end. We can then break these goals down into small, manageable tasks. I've mentioned this before, but I use a task management system like Notion, where I have my big overarching goal, my quarterly goal, for example, and then I'll break that into kind of monthly overarching action plans. And then those action plans I'll break down into tiny little tasks that I can do throughout the week. And those just kind of stack up into that larger goal being completed by the end of the quarter. I also recommend, especially around this fall season that we're going into the holidays, right, to just create a realistic timeline that incorporates and makes space for family time, the holidays, and just general downtime. Identify resources and support we can lean on. For me, maybe my family, my friends, my partner. Maybe I can do some internet deep dives, seek out a professional in any areas of growth that I feel like I can't tackle myself. We really don't have to do it all. I am the queen of not asking for help sometimes, but I just come to realize that I really can't do everything myself. And it's really good sometimes to kind of seek the answers from people who've been there, right? Who know what they're doing or who just want to see you win. And then the last tip I have is kind of to consider how these goals align with the long-term vision that we have for ourselves. So if we continue on with this path, where do we see ourselves landing? And if we don't like that long-term vision, then maybe we can just modify what we're doing now in order to align better with our higher self. So next thing that I'd like to talk about is the concept of slow productivity and understanding your bandwidth. So a few months ago, I read Cal Newport's Slow Productivity, and it's really given me some useful tools for how to approach productivity. As you know, on this channel, I talk about mindful productivity, which I feel like is kind of the same thing almost, just a different name. And so that's what kind of drew me to this book. So a few key takeaways from this book. According to Newport, slow productivity is an alternative to hustle culture's notion of productivity and relies on 3 key principles. The first is doing fewer things. Second is working at a more natural pace. And 3 is obsessing over quality. He also discusses his approach to working on projects, which is basically to avoid working on more than 3 projects at a time and using sort of a pool-based methodology in which you have your projects kind of sitting in a tank of sorts. And once you complete a project, then that's when you can pull in another one. And I think this can really be visualized well with digital task management systems like Notion, for example, of course, where you can have like a little database that's in a board form, and then you can literally move projects from your like to-do pile into your currently doing pile. And then after you've completed a project, you can move it into your completed pile until you've completed everything. As an ambitious girly my whole life, I felt the urge to sort of cram a bunch of tasks and activities into my days and not providing myself enough space to just take a beat, take a rest. And since being exposed to the stress-related, physical ramifications of that approach, I've since learned to embrace really slowing down and just being honest about my bandwidth. I know all too well the feeling of planning for something and sort of overestimating the amount of energy or time I can devote to a task or project. But I've realized that actually filling up my to-do list is kind of counterintuitive to yielding quality results. These days, I try to remind myself that though I can, I should really try to resist that urge to do more than I can realistically handle. My mantra these days is I can always extend my timeline to reflect my bandwidth. So in true fall fashion, we're gonna focus in on what really matters and shed the rest, like shedding leaves. Put those extra tasks on the back burner for just a moment, right? You know, there's only so many hours in a day. We gotta prioritize, we gotta pick and choose. My personal approach is to basically evaluate what things are most likely to move the needle forward towards my near and long-term goals. I use a large chunk of my energy for those tasks, and then I'll also evaluate the baseline amount of work necessary to maintain my other projects. And then I will do the bare minimum on those tasks that don't necessarily move the needle forward to what I'm currently focused on. And then that way I can ensure that I have just the right amount of energy left over to pour into myself and my interests. All this to say that viewing your life and what you aim to accomplish over a longer time horizon is a helpful way to decrease stress and promote a greater sense of purpose related to your most important goals, right? It's okay, I promise, if you don't get to number 12 on your to-do list for the day. It's a joy and a privilege to really slow down, and that's what fall inspires us to do. Okay, now we're ready to talk about some things that I'm doing to refresh, or some things that I want to try to incorporate into my fall routines and rituals. And hopefully this can give you some inspo as well. Also, Pinterest and the internet in general is such a good place to find fall inspo. I, for one, will be doing some fall and holiday mood boarding myself. Also, I don't know if I'm the last person on earth to know this, but you can search by like skin tone or hair type. So I was looking up like fall nail inspo, and you can literally select by like kind of the hue or the skin tone range that you want to be looking at. Same thing for like hair. Like they give you the ability to search by like curly hair. Child, I did not know this. Now I guess I don't have to type in like fall nails on black woman. It'll just like populate for me if I click it. Crazy. Well done, Pinterest, well done. Anyway, enough of my rambling. First up, I would like to really embrace the cozy fall mornings. I live in South Florida, so I feel like we probably won't get a nice, moderately chilly morning until maybe like October, November, or if like a cold front rolls in. But nonetheless, this fall, I really want to prioritize a nice morning walk. Rather than just kind of getting up and hitting those weights and kind of shocking my body with that cortisol, I feel like easing into the day with just like a nice gentle walk around the neighborhood, really enjoying the sunrise, the birds, the leaves, the trees, the nice cool wind. I feel like that's just such a nice way to start the morning. Speaking of exercise, now would be a really good time to kind of take advantage of those cooler months, right? And get into some outdoor activities, running more if you're into that. Not me though, but y'all be good. Or maybe in general, just like an outdoor picnic with the falling leaves. Next thing, I also aim to kind of spice up my morning beverages. So typically I'm a matcha girl, but I feel like leaning into some fall flavors like cinnamon or pumpkin spice definitely wouldn't hurt. And I know it's easy to do that with coffee. So if you're a coffee lover, pumpkin spice lattes, cinnamon, brown sugar, apple, or even maybe like a hot chocolate treat would be giving. I'm also gonna try to look for like low sugar versions of these things because, you know, I can't do that every morning, right? You know, we got autoimmune things going on and sugar is inflammatory. So we gotta sprinkle in where we can, right? Enjoy the sugar when we can, but definitely gonna try to like find some lower sugar alternatives of all these fall drinks. Kind of in the same vein, I really wanna implement more fall scents, especially moving into a new space pretty soon. Some scents like apple, honey, cinnamon, woodsy, cranberry. Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like the combination of like the cozy drink in the morning with the scents, with my fuzzy slippers. Yeah. Next thing that I'm really excited to do is refreshing my workspace for the fall. So adding more warm tone decor like burgundies and oranges and browns, kind of those accents to what we already got. Maybe incorporating like more natural elements like little acorns or leaves. Next one, using a fall themed desktop wallpaper. Mine is currently my vision board, but I already feel like I already know what the vision is, right? I feel like now is a good time to swap it out for a nice fall themed wallpaper. Next thing, incorporating fall seasonal activities into my routine. So again, maybe like apple picking or a pumpkin patch. We do have an apple orchard, like sort of down south. And I know we do pumpkin patches here. So I'm definitely gonna make it part of my bucket list to go check that out. Again, like I mentioned before, maybe a nice little park picnic with a cute little wicker basket and some blankets, right? So maybe finding ways to both incorporate those more seasoned activities into our routines, but also not being afraid to do something kind of out of your routine, out of the ordinary, and enjoy it with friends and family. Also gonna be adjusting my evening routine. I love myself a good evening routine. I'm gonna be looking forward to creating like a little cozy nook just to wind down, right, with my little tea. After I've taken a shower, I'd put on a nice warm robe and just kind of get my Kindle, journal, vibe, and read. So I'm really looking forward to kind of carving out that cozy space for myself to just vibe and kind of ease myself into the evening and into bed. Speaking of bed, go to bed, bestie. We are taking advantage of the earlier sunsets. When daylight savings comes around, we're falling back, right? The nights are gonna be longer. And I feel like it's conducive, if we can, to really just set some earlier bedtimes. Maybe a good like 9:30, 10. Yeah, if we can. That's honestly something that I have to work on myself, is just, especially with screen time, like cutting it off at a cute 8:30, 9 is definitely the goal, and then easing into my evenings. Okay, last thing I have that I think is just really important is just balancing the productivity, right? Those productive tasks with the restful activities throughout our day. So I've been really getting into more hobbies lately as a form of self-care. A few weeks ago, I actually went through like a period of burnout where I was like, I literally can't do anything. And so I actually busted out my Switch that I haven't played since last year, and I actually sat for a week and played Animal Crossing. So it was definitely necessary though. I'm not regretting it at all. But now that I'm back to, doing what I need to do, I feel like I really enjoyed kind of implementing sort of just kind of downtime, brain off activities sprinkled in throughout my day. Or maybe if I'm doing something where I'm just kind of sprinting to the end, like maybe I'll do that for like 4 days and then maybe just take a day to like decompress, relax. So my favorite hobbies, apart from Animal Crossing and Pokemon, are just like writing for fun, creative writing. I'm reading a lot more currently. I'm aligning with my inner child. I'm going through all the Harry Potter books. I'm rewatching old TV shows, old movies. Of course, I'm gonna do the Twilight movies that I do every year. And then probably the first few seasons of the Vampire Diaries, right? Those good seasons with Klaus, and then the originals, those first few seasons. And then maybe I'll fall in line and also do the Gilmore Girls as well with the rest of the girls. I'm so excited to just park my booty on the couch and just vibe. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Alrighty, friends, I feel like we've touched on pretty much everything. If you're a fall lover, let me know what you're making, what you're cooking up, what you're excited for. If you have some Pinterest boards, link me to them. Thank you so much for hanging out. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you wanna see more of me. I'll see you very soon, and don't forget to stay mindful. Bye.